Hello everyone, it's Monday, it's December 7th. We are starting a new week of virtual instruction. This week you are in Unit 14 of Spelling City, however it is week 17 of school. So make sure that when you log into Spelling City that you are in the right week. This week we're talking about base words that change possibly a little bit when you are adding what we call inflectional endings. An inflectional ending could be an ed ending or an ing ending. There are some patterns to follow when you are adding those endings. For example, if you have a word like the word excuse, that word ends in a vowel, consonant, silent E. So the rule is we're going to drop that final E before we add an ED. So basically, we don't want two E's right next to each other or an E and an ING next to each other. We're going to drop that before we add that inflectional ending to make excused or excusing. Another example is with the word settle. It also ends in a silent E, so we need to drop the one before we add the ED or ing to make settled or settling. A second rule is what we call doubling. Sometimes we need to double the final consonant in a base word before we add the inflectional ending. So, for example, in the word submit, that word ends in a vowel consonant. No silent E, but just a vowel and a consonant. So we need to double that final consonant, add another T, before we add our ED or ING to make submitted or submitting. Another example of that rule is the word patrol. Again, it ends in a vowel consonant, so we're going to double the L before we add our ending. Here's how we make patrolled or patrolling. For example, the police car was patrolling the neighborhood. Sometimes there's no change to a base word when we add our ing or ed endings. The base word is just, we keep it the same, and then we add whatever we need to add. One example of that is prevent or explain or borrow or echo. Those have different vowel consonant consonant patterns or vowel consonant. You kind of just have to memorize those to make sure that you understand the rule. We're just going to add our ED and ING with no change to make prevented and preventing, explained and explaining, borrowed and borrowing, or echoed and echoing. So those are our three rules for inflectional endings. Now I'm going to use a couple of examples from our benchmark week or unit 14 week 17 list that follow those rules. So, for example, if we wanted to think about the first rule of dropping the silent E. So I'm going to write a base word on our virtual whiteboard here, the word amaze. Now, the spelling word you have this week is amazing, okay? If I add an ing, it looks like that. Now, that word has a vowel, consonant, silent E. So, I am going to erase our ending. First of all, we need to drop that silent E before we add our inflectional ending, okay? So, there's the word amazing, which is a spelling word. Another example of that silent E rule is with the word huddle. Our spelling word is huddled, okay? But there's our base word of huddle. It ends with a silent E. So we're going to drop that before we add our ing to make huddling, like the football team was huddling to discuss the next play. Okay, so that's two examples of the first rule that we just talked about. The second rule was the doubling rule. And that would be a word like admit. Okay, that word ends in a vowel consonant. So we're going to double the T, admit, before we add our ing to make admitting, which is a spelling word. Okay, the third rule was just adding the inflectional ending with no change. So here's one of your spelling words that follows that rule. Prevent. Your spelling word is prevented. In that word, we just add our ed with no change. Also, follow. Our word is followed with no change. So, those 3 rules are what we're working on this week. Be sure to complete all of your Spelling City assignments before Friday and then take your test. By then, you should be ready if you keep up with all of that. Have a great week.